As we start talking about the law involving labor relations, what we're really talking about is a national standard, that is the national policy of the United States, that employees have the right to organize and to bargain collectively with their employers, or to choose not to do that if that's their wish, but that there has to be an orderly process to make that determination, that we can no longer have the violence that was taking place prior to the 1930s. And therefore, the National Labor Relations Board has been created under the National Labor Relations Act, and an entire process by which employees can vote whether they want a union or don't want a union. And if they vote that they do want a union, that there is then a process by which the employer and the union sit down and negotiate a collective bargaining agreement, a contract that defines the terms and conditions of employment. Some of the key issues that you're going to want to pay attention to and have to learn are, first off, well, who am I organizing? If I've got a manufacturing plant, I've got office workers, I've got production maintenance people, I've got engineers, I've got quality control people, I've got security people. Can all of these people be in one group? And the Act, and the reference to the Act means the National Labor Relations Act, says, well, no, there are certain inherent conflicts. So that, as you will learn, supervisors cannot be in a bargaining unit, because obviously, how can you be in the same union with people that you're supervising and may have to discipline or fire? Similarly, security people cannot be in a bargaining unit with the rank and file, because they're the ones who are supposed to be making sure that people aren't stealing and keeping an eye on things. Office and clerical are traditionally separated because they're in a different location, they do different types of work. It's white collar kind of versus a blue collar sort of thing. And so everybody then in the manufacturing setting, the production maintenance people, are kind of left as, well, that's who you're going to put together. What we're talking about is a bargaining unit. That group of employees who share sufficient common interests that a union could sit down with an employer and say, look, we represent these people. They have similar hours, similar wages, similar duties. We can come up with a contract that's cohesive enough to represent these people and not have to worry about little tangents that are out there for smaller groups of people. So that the concept of an appropriate bargaining unit is one that we're going to have to talk about and you're going to have to pay attention to in reading the book in Chapter 4. The other is the concept of an unfair labor practice. Unfortunately, we know that when people interact and we're trying to influence their decision, there's sometimes a tendency to push it a little bit and maybe do things that might otherwise be illegal. What the Act is looking for is that employees answer a question. They have a ballot. They vote. Do you wish to be represented by the Teamsters Union? Yes or no? Well, if I'm the Teamsters, I want to try to get you to vote yes. I may make all kinds of crazy promises to you. If I'm an employer and I want you to vote no, that you don't want a union, I might try to bribe you. I might threaten you. All of this then would destroy a free election. So the statute created unfair labor practices, those actions by unions or employers that destroy the free election. And there are a series of acts that are considered unfair or therefore illegal by employers and by unions. And we'll talk about those, and you'll have an opportunity to actually look at some fact patterns and make a determination if those are legal or not. Finally, there's this whole issue of the election itself. How do we get employees to vote one way or the other, but to do it legally? As in any election, we just came off a national election. There's electioneering that goes on. And in the labor relations setting, the same thing happens. You've got a mini election. You've got employers out there putting out their propaganda, trying to sway the employees to vote no, they don't want a union. And on the other side of the coin, you've got the unions doing the exact same thing with their propaganda, trying to point out how bad the employer is and why it's better to join the union. and you'll be looking at some of the propaganda that both sides put out and then developing your own campaign as part of the